Welcome back to Strength After Sorrow. I am Jeff Sandman, and today we are going to be talking about some of the feelings that you go through. I know last episode we kind of talked about building some strength in the quiet times when people don't really see what's going on. This episode, I kind of wanted to touch on some of the feelings that maybe we're going to have. First off, I wanted to make sure I know most of my story has been about grief, but that's not what this podcast is all about. It's not just about grief. It's about any trial, any loss, or any hardship, as I've shared in some of the other episodes. I mean, we live in life. Life happens and life throws things at us, and not all life is easy. So that's what this podcast is about. It's about rising up. It's about getting up off of the couch. It's about becoming better. It's becoming that victor and not a victim. Yeah, it's funny. I've actually heard that term quite a few times now since I coined that as kind of my little tagline on my podcast. I've heard it several different times. I heard it in church service a few times, talking about not being a victim, but being a victor. So it's definitely one of those messages that we really need to grab a hold of, is being that victor and not a victim, so that we can rise up, so that we can be better, so we can show up for those that are important to us, those that need us. And that is why I am doing this. It's so that I can continue to remind myself that this is what I'm here for. I am here to rise up. I am here to be better. And I know there's the mantra about, 1% better every day, one step further, or whatever it is. And that's kind of how this is. You just have to take one step at a time. It is 1% better every single day. And then next thing you know, that just piles on 1% on 1% on 1%. And next thing you know, you are leaps and bounds ahead of where you used to be. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that this isn't just about grief, but it's about everything, whether you've gone through a divorce, or whether you've lost a job, or whether you've had some times in life where you thought you were supposed to be someplace and you just haven't, your life plans just haven't worked out. Whatever it is, that is what this is for. Now, the difference between being a victor and a victim isn't whether you feel these feelings that we're going to talk about today, but it's what you do with them. And it's just one of those things. I mean, nobody warns you about the messy emotions or anything else that follow a hard season. Some of the emotions that I wrote down: we got anger, we got guilt, we got resentment towards people, we got numbness, we got relief in some situations. On anger, you can be angry at God, you can be angry at yourself, you can be angry at the situation that you're in, you can be angry at people who seem to be untouched by the situation. And those are just some natural feelings that we have, whether it's, for us, going through the loss of our son, there was anger. I shared that I yelled at God. I did. I yelled at him, and I know that he could handle it. And it was what I needed at the time to be able to get those emotions out. And, sometimes we're mad at ourselves because we either didn't see the situation coming, or we did see the situation coming and we didn't do anything about it. We just kind of sat back because we didn't want to, whether it was a lack of drive, or whether it was you're naturally kind of not motivated to do things, or you don't like conflict, whatever it was. You can get mad at yourself for what happened. You can get mad at the situation, whether it was, losing your job, whether it was a divorce or whatever, and you're just mad at that whole situation. I was mad at losing our son. I was not a happy person. And, it's a natural emotion. What helps with this, though, it's okay to be angry. What you don't want to do is just set in that anger. You want to try to find a healthy way to release that anger. And like I said, I yelled at God, and I felt better afterwards. I knew he could handle it. And kind of like If I had a buddy that, and I'm not saying that God and I are buddies, that's not the type of, lack of relationship that I would say. He is much more to me than just a buddy. But if I had a friend or somebody that needed to vent to me, I would let him just release it. And I wouldn't take it personal. I wouldn't and I've told a few people, I'm like, look, if you need to just call me and just yell, that's fine. And I've told several people that I've met that are going through grief or going through different situations in their life that, if you need somebody to just listen to you yell, I'm right here for you. And why would I do that? It's so that you could release those feelings so that they don't fester up inside of you. And that is one of my issues that I've always had, is I will push those feelings down. And some of those feelings I've pushed down so far that I don't even remember some of the things that I've gone through. If you ask me certain times of my childhood or times of my life, I just don't remember. And it's not necessarily that it was a terrible time or anything like that, but there's maybe just certain situations where I push those feelings down and I just chose to kind of block everything out. And it is not a good thing. And I've had several people, and I've even heard other people talk about that when you push that down, it's kind of like one of those pressure cookers where you can only build up so much pressure inside of that before it has no place to go. So what's it going to do? You start hearing that whistle blow. And this is what happens to us. When we push things down so much, we just don't have any more room to push anything else down. And something's got to give. Whether it is our emotions, whether it our health, whatever it is, something's going to give. So trying to find a healthy outlet for that anger is always something that you need to do. You need to first identify what you're mad about. And from there, then whether you're talking to your spouse, whether you're talking to your friend, whether you're talking to a counselor, whatever it is, you're talking to God, you can get that out because you can say, yes, okay, I'm mad. I am mad because I lost my son. I am mad, and I've identified what it is that I'm mad about, and I was releasing it to God. And from there, now it wasn't any longer being pushed inside of me. That anger wasn't just being pushed down, festering for a time where something else would trigger me later on. And then who is usually the one that suffers the worst? It's the people that are closest to you. And for me, it's always been, my wife has always been the one that has kind of received the brunt of when my emotions would rise up. And it wasn't anything physical or anything like that. It's just when I would lose my temper, then I was mean to her. And I don't want that. I don't want her to, she doesn't deserve to be treated that way. And nobody else that I love deserves to be treated that way. In fact, nobody deserves to be treated that way. So the quicker you can identify this, what is getting you angry, then releasing that in a healthy way. I love to exercise. So if I do a hard workout or something, then sometimes that's, a way that I can release that anger that I'm feeling. If you like to box, you're hitting a punching bag, whatever it is, just don't hit a wall. I did that when I was younger, and I tell you what, that does not feel good. You get in trouble with your dad because you punched a hole in the wall. It is not suggested. So let's move on to the next one, guilt. And I've shared this before, I should have, or what if. There's always that guilt, and it can become a spiral. You're just going over and over and over. I should have. What if I would have done this? What if I could have done this? And you're replaying things in your mind. The problem with that is it's already happened. So you can't go back and change any of it. The only thing you can do is recognize what you're guilty of, what that guilt is inside of you, and name that guilt, release that guilt, and then try to change things moving forward. You cannot change the past. So if you're going to sit there and you're going to worry about the past, I mean, this really is just worry. Guilt of what I should have is just worry of the past. And again, you cannot change the past. The past is the past. And the only thing you can do is learn from the past and not make those mistakes again. And there was several things, in my life that, whether it was with our son or whatever, I wish I would have done something different or whatever it was. And it took me a while to move past that guilt of some of the things towards the end of his life. I wish I wouldn't have, or whatever it was, but I couldn't go back and change that. The only thing I could do was first forgive myself. And I will tell you right now, that is one of the biggest things you can do, is figure out what it is that is eating at you and forgive yourself for it. And if that person is still around that maybe you wronged or whatever, go find them and ask for their forgiveness. And if they forgive you, great. If they don't, then that's on them. But it will release you, because now it is no longer going to be eating at you and you can move forward. Another one is resentment towards people. For us, it was for people that had a son, and we would see things on like social media, how their son was doing really good in this or whatever it was. And I shared on the last episode that, it was resentment, jealousy that we had towards them, or at least that I had towards them. And because I no longer had that, I didn't have my son there. I didn't have those memories to be able to share on Facebook saying how well he was doing in this area of life, or that he just met a significant other and they're going to be married and all this stuff, or whatever it was. That was something that I didn't have anymore. Maybe for you, it's looking at your friends that are married or something like that, or you're out and about and you see this old couple that's walking down the mall and they're holding hands, and you got this resentment because you just went through a bitter divorce. And you're like, why? Why couldn't have I had that? And again, it's a natural feeling, because now somebody has something that you thought you were going to have, something that you thought wasn't going to be taken away from you, whether it's a job. I mean, I'm one of those where I have never looked for a job, honestly. All the jobs that I've had have pretty much come to me. And then I've got some people that I know that they were struggling to get a job. And here I am. I've already got a job and I'm getting job offers. And I wanted to share with them, but I didn't want to share with them because I didn't want them to have that resentment. So I saved it. I didn't let them know, but at the same time, I was letting them know that I'm there for them and I'm praying for them to get a job and asking them how things are going in their job search, all that stuff. So I was always trying to encourage them. But I did have resentment towards other people. So, I mean, that's a natural feeling. Numbness. I shared this in the last episode, that there was just times that I didn't have any feelings. And I know they always joke about that with guys. You can ask them, well, what are you thinking about? Nothing. And that's true. We can think about nothing. They say that women are not capable of it. I don't know. But I do know when they're going through things, there is a numbness with them as well, where there's just this feeling nothing. And then when you don't feel it, then you feel guilty for it, or that can move into even relief in some situations. All of a sudden, you've got this joy inside of you and you start laughing, and then you feel ashamed because, well, I shouldn't be joyful. I shouldn't be happy. I shouldn't be rejoicing right now, because this is a situation that for us, it was grief, losing our son. How could we be happy after losing our son? How could we dare laugh? How could we dare have any joy in our lives? Or, for you, I just went through a divorce. How could I possibly be sitting here with some friends right now and actually laughing? It's okay. These are all part of the emotions that we go through. And you're going to have those ebbs and flows of emotions, and it's okay. It's, again, the key to this is to recognize these emotions that you have, and don't beat yourself up about having these emotions, no matter what's going on in life. And you could even be having a great day. You could have not gone through any of this like we did with losing our son. You could have been married forever. You just haven't been married yet, whatever. You don't have any issues with losing a job. You look like this was my life plan and it looks like everything's moving the way that it's supposed to. And yet you can still have all these emotions rise up inside of you as well. And it is a normal thing. You're not broken. It is normal. We have these emotions inside of us, and it is completely normal for every one of us to go through them. The next thing I want to kind of cover is, why do we hide these emotions? If these are natural emotions, if everybody has them, if you did a survey on people and you asked them, have you ever been angry? 100% would say, yes, I've been angry. If you would ask, has anybody ever said, I wish I would have, or I wish I could have, 100% of them would have said it at one point in their life. I've got to the point now, and my mom was this way as well, that I wouldn't have changed anything in my life because it would have changed everything about my life. If one thing could have changed, then the life that I know it now, and some people are going, great, I would love for this life to not be what I am now. But the reality of it is everything that you are thankful for now wouldn't even be there. I look at certain things. If I would have went back, if I would have been able to, my goal was to go to art school in Seattle. And if I would go back and I would have changed that, then I would have never met my wife. I would have never had the family that I have now. And these are the things that I love. These are the things that I am grateful for. And none of that would have been in my life now. I don't remember it might have been Family Man. I'm not exactly sure on the title of it, but it had Nicolas Cage in it. And it was kind of that same type of thing. He woke up one day and the life that he thought he was going to have, or this was the life that he could have had if he went down this road, and it was completely different than the life that he has currently. And then after everything, then he woke up and none of it was that way. And that is exactly what it would be for us. Back to the why we hide them. Like I said, these are natural emotions. Why do we hide them? Now, I come from a church culture, and I was one of the leaders in church, and I don't know, I don't understand why, I don't know why, nobody ever said it, but I always had that feeling that if I let people know that I was struggling, then it was almost like I had a weak faith. Like I didn't trust God enough, which is totally false, because the word talks about casting every care on him, or bringing, confess your sins to one another so that they can bring you back to completeness, basically. And that's a paraphrase. But we're to talk to our brothers and sisters. We're to be edified. We're to be built up by them. And if they don't know what we're struggling with, how are they supposed to build us up? It is a false idea that I believe was put out there by the enemy, so that because if you're not in unity, And there's a verse in the Bible that talks about the thief prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he can devour. And what does a lion usually look for? A lion is always looking for that lone little animal that is all by itself, that is weak, that is easy prey. And if the enemy can keep us separated from people, if he can keep us quiet and not share what it is that we're going through, then we are all by ourselves and we are easy picking. We are weak, we're alone, we're afraid to talk about what we're going through. We don't have that connection anymore. We aren't able to perform the way that we're supposed to be performing. We're not able to do the things that we should be able to do. So your life is getting destroyed because of some misconception that if you share what you're feeling, then you're weak. You're weak in your faith. You're weak as a man. It's okay for a woman to share her feelings because that's what women do, but it's not okay for a guy because that just shows that you're weak and you should be able to press on. You should be able to push forward, and that's all bull. It is all bull. This comes a lot from social media, and like I said, this next episode I'm going to dive into that a little bit deeper. But social media is one of those areas where when you're looking at social media, what's happening on there? Well, everybody shows what appears to be winning. We don't now there are some people that put some things on social media where they're crying or whatever. And I'm sorry, but I've got to say probably at least 95% of those are all fake. They were put on as a show. If you've got time to go grab a camera and get it set up and then come over here and then sit in front of it and then start crying for it, then it was staged. It was not a real thing. This is so that you can get empathy from others. And that's a dangerous area to get into as well. That is an area where, well, it's just not a good place to be. And I want to reach out to those people as well, because that is an area, I hope you're not doing that. And I hope you're able to, and maybe if you don't deal with things, those are some areas where you can get into, because now you don't know what else to do. You don't know how to release it. So maybe this is one of those areas where they don't know anything else, and this is how they're releasing it, is they're doing those videos, they're having those cries, trying to get that empathy from people to be able to give you a like or go, some comments. Oh, hey, I'm here for you, brother. I'm here for you, and all these things. And I think we also will go the opposite direction. We will, instead of post videos of us just pushing through, it's been 120 days and I haven't missed a workout yet, and I haven't cried 20 years, and blah, blah, blah. All these things that, again, is the opposite end of that. You're trying to display that strength. And these are all on social media. But most of social media is all highlight reels. It is trying to show you how I'm winning, how I'm doing. These are my good workouts. And I'll video myself every once in a while. And most of the time when I'm videoing myself, I'm doing it for one purpose, really. But I will post them every once in a while. My main purpose is to kind of see what my form looks like. I've got an app on my phone. It's called Coach's Eye, and you can load it into there, and you can slow it down. You can look at things, and I used to use that a lot when I was doing Olympic lifting. When I was coaching, I would film some people, and then we would go back through and, do a slow motion kind of thing and just kind of break down their technique, where they were on this pull or whatever movement, what they were doing. And we would be able to go back and they could see it, and then we'd be able to cue some things. So that is one of the main reasons why now, of course, yeah, I'll also post them out on Instagram every once in a while. And most of the time what I want to do is just kind of pump some people up. Hey, if me being 53 years old can still work out and be healthy, then so can you. And that's how I get motivation. I watch other people do things, and I love watching like the Paralympics, stuff like that. We've got a gym up there in Lindale, the CrossFit gym, that has several people that go there that are amputees, and they just crush it. And that to me is a motivation, because if they can rise up and they can overcome things, physical things like that, and they can still do those workouts, then what am I using as an excuse? Oh, I'm sore, or, wah, wah type of thing. For me, it's just a motivation that I can get out there and I can win. I can do better than what I am doing right now. And that's one of the reasons why I try to post it, is so that other people can go, hey, if a 53-year-old guy can toss around a 150-pound sandbag, lift a 200-pound sandbag, then what am I doing? Why am I, making excuses of just sitting on the couch? So those are the couple reasons why I do it. But that can be one of the reasons why we're not sharing our true emotions, is because of the things that we're seeing. For us, especially guys, the pressure to perform. And I kind of covered that. That signifies strength, which is not true. It definitely isn't. What stuffing all these actually costs us, there's bitterness that can rise up. There's broken relationships, which I remember hearing from a lot of people. And I looked back at their relationships, and it was all these emotions that we talked about that they never dealt with. And it caused them bitterness. It caused them to shut down. It caused division, which caused broken relationships. There was a physical toll on their bodies. I had a physical toll on my body from what we went through with our son, and my body pretty much shut down. Hormonally, my body shut down. My testosterone levels tanked. There was just, these are things that if you don't deal with things, then you are going to suffer some type of consequence. So we've got to make sure that we are getting these out. The next segment, feeling it is part of becoming a victor. So what I want to kind of cover here, victors aren't people who don't feel these things. Victors are people that, like I said earlier, they are the ones that recognize what these feelings are, what these emotions that they're dealing with are. And when you can recognize what these emotions are, then you can then take inventory. Well, what is causing these emotions? Why am I mad? Why is there anger right now? Why is there bitterness? Why do I have jealousy or whatever it is? Or why is there bitterness? I'll share one thing. I shared that my goal was to go to art school in Seattle and become a graphic designer. And I met my wife shortly out of high school, and I saw her and I knew she was the one. The moment that I saw her walk in the door, all I could see was from about here up. It was behind a reclining chair at a party that we were at. And I looked over there and I said, that's the one. And I spent the rest of the night peacocking, trying to show off for her, all this stuff, what a 18-year-old boy does. But I spent a lot of time of our marriage resenting her and not realizing that I resented her, because in the back of my mind, and it took me several years to figure this out, in the back of my mind, and I've shared it with her, but in the back of my mind, if I wouldn't have met her, then I would have went to art school. So it was almost like I was resenting that moment in time, which put resentment towards her, which when you resent something or somebody, then you cannot give them the feelings that they deserve, because there's a different emotion blocking that. And once I realized that, And it wasn't her fault. I mean, honestly, if I was to be mad at anybody, I think I better be mad at God, because he's the one that I believe put her in my life. And I am so thankful that he put her in my life. Because, like I said, I wouldn't have the family that I have right now, the thing that I cherish the most. But there was that resentment, that was the reason why I never became a graphic designer like I wanted to. And I even had a midlife crisis after having our daughter. We just buy a house, we just have a daughter, and that was when I decided I wanted to go to art school. And I drove from Cheyenne, Wyoming to Denver, Colorado every day I made it for a year. And I ended up our car broke down. I ended up having to rent a car to finish the year out. I couldn't finish the second year. So there was just that resentment inside. And like I said, it took me a while to recognize, but once I recognized it, then I was like, no, that is so false. That is not. And that opened up another level for me to love my wife. So take an inventory, figure out what these feelings are that you have. Is there resentment in your life? Is there resentment towards your partner? Is there resentment towards those people around you? And if there is, why? Why is there resentment? Why is there anger towards somebody? Is it because you had this idea of what was going to happen in life? I mean, how many times I used to get mad at my wife and everybody else in the family because I was heading home from work, and in the back of my mind, I already made plans that when I get home, I'm going to do a workout. Well, guess who I never told? I never told my wife. I never told anybody else in the family that when I get home tonight, I want to do a workout. So what happens? Well, I get home, and now they're needing things. They're pulling me this direction, this direction. They had ideas already. Well, we need to get this done. We need to get this done. So then my plan just got ruined. So I get mad for something that I never communicated with my wife about. So I had to go back and go, well, that was ridiculous. Okay, yeah, sure, I can be mad because I didn't get a workout in, but what can I change about that? Well, I can communicate with my wife. I can let her know, hey, babe, when I get home tonight, I didn't get a workout today, and I really feel I need to get a workout in. So when I get home, I want to do a workout. And if we've got other things going on, then that's when she can say, well, remember, we're supposed to be doing blah, blah, blah. And then I go, oh, okay, then never mind. Then it's not a big deal. Then I'm able to process that in my mind. And if I'm getting it out, then she can, okay, well, if we have nothing going, okay, great. Yeah, do a workout, get that in, whatever. But if you don't communicate these things and you've got anger, then you need to change something so that you don't have that anger anymore. You need to change some things. You need to find out what is causing that resentment. You need to change some things and find out why these emotions are coming, and then what can you do different? What can you do to change these emotions? How can you use these emotions to better you the next time this happens? In church today, we're going through Psalms, and that is one of those things, even if you're not religious, grab a Bible, because you probably have one somewhere. Most everybody, even if they don't go to church, most everybody has a Bible somewhere. Go through the Psalms, and David would write the Psalms where he brought the raw, the unfiltered version of his emotions to God every single time. And talking about, the one that we were talking about in church today was about how long are you going to basically abandon me, Lord? How long are you going to leave me alone and let my enemies triumph over me? But in the end, he comes back and says, but I will rejoice in you. I will sing praises to the Lord. So back to this, get those emotions out in a healthy way. Find a healthy avenue, whether you can write them down, whether you find somebody that you can share it with, or whatever it is, find a healthy avenue to get these emotions out. And then from there, then just like David did, where he says, but I will sing praises to you, but I will rejoice. Like I said, even if you're not spiritual, then you can come back and say, okay, I've got these emotions out, but moving forward, I will recognize what's causing my anger. I will recognize what's causing this bitterness, and I will change my attitude in that, and I will become better. I will choose to be the victor in this. I will choose not to be the victim. I will not let it grab a hold of me and keep me down. Victims bury it and let it fester. Victors face it, name it, and refuse to let it be the final chapter. So, again, figure out what it is that those emotions are. Find a safe place to release them. Be honest with yourself. Become that victor. And refuse to be a victim and bury it and let it fester. Don't let it do what I was doing for several years and just letting it fester and fester and fester, letting those feelings, that resentment build up. Do not let it do it. Again, next episode, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into the false expectation that is out there on social media about what it means to be a man. And I hope you'll tune into that. In the meantime, make sure if this meant anything to you, if you think somebody else would enjoy this, share this show, leave a review, like it, follow. Again, I am on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Amazon, and I hope to see you next time.